The story begins with a young couple, Alfred and Jane, who had recently gotten married. After their wedding, they were excited about starting a life together and beginning their own family. They were looking forward to having children in the near future. But there was just one thing: Jane wasn't sure if she was ready to be a mother yet. She wasn't sure if she could handle the responsibility of raising a child. She felt that she needed more time to be sure about her role as a mother. Alfred, on the other hand, had an idea to help Jane ease into the idea of parenthood. He suggested, "Why don't we get a dog first? It's a smaller responsibility, and it can help us get ready for the responsibility of taking care of a child." Jane thought it over for a moment. She wasn't sure at first, but after some consideration, she agreed. They both decided to adopt a dog. Before they started thinking about having children, they went to a nearby animal shelter to find a dog that could join their family. After a little while, they found a small puppy. That was a mix between a golden retriever and a Labrador retriever. The puppy had soft, golden fur that glistened in the sunlight. And he looked at them with big, innocent eyes. His tail wagged excitedly as they approached him. They immediately fell in love with the puppy. They decided to take him home and gave him the name, Jordan. The name was special to them, and they felt it was a perfect fit for their new little friend. But as much as they loved Jordan, they soon realized that he was not your typical, well-behaved puppy. When Jordan was still a puppy, he was full of energy and excitement. Alfred and Jane quickly learned that Jordan wasn't going to be an easy dog to handle. He was very playful, and he often found ways to make messes around the house. One afternoon, Alfred and Jane decided to go out for a while. They left Jordan at home, thinking he would be okay on his own for a little while. When they returned home, they were shocked to find the front door slightly open. Alfred frowned and said, "Something doesn't feel right." They walked into the house, and the living room looked like a tornado had passed through it. The cushions on the couch were ripped open, and the stuffing was scattered everywhere. One of Alfred's shoes was missing, and the other was torn apart. They searched around the house, calling for Jordan, but there was no sign of him. Panicking, they rushed outside and started running through the neighborhood, calling his name. After a few minutes, they found Jordan playing in the park, covered in mud and grass. He was rolling on the ground, wagging his tail, and looked as happy as ever. "Jordan, what did you do?" Alfred yelled, but Jordan just ran to him, jumped on him, and knocked him to the ground with a big, slobbery kiss. Despite the mess he had caused, Alfred and Jane couldn't help but laugh at Jordan's playful behavior. They brought him back home, and even though they were frustrated, they couldn't stay mad at him for long. One evening, Alfred decided to surprise Jane by cooking a special dinner for their anniversary. He worked hard to make everything perfect, to set the table with candles, poured some wine, and cooked a delicious meal. He couldn't wait for Jane to come home and enjoy it with him. However, things didn't go according to plan. Just as Alfred was setting the last dish on the table, Jordan jumped up onto the table and grabbed a big piece of steak. Before Alfred could stop him, Jordan ran off with the steak in his mouth, and the wine that was supposed to be for the meal spilled all over the floor. The candles tipped over, and the tablecloth nearly caught fire. When Jane walked in, she was surprised to find the entire living room in chaos. There was Jordan, happily wagging his tail, with a piece of steak in his mouth, completely oblivious to the disaster he had caused. Jordan, Alfred and Jane both shouted, their hands on their heads. But despite their frustration, they burst into laughter at the ridiculousness of the situation. One winter night, Alfred worked late at the office and was feeling very tired as he walked home. The temperature had dropped, and the roads were icy. When he reached the street in front of his house, he slipped on the ice and fell hard, hitting his head on the pavement. He felt dizzy and couldn't get up. At that moment, Jordan ran over to him. He started whining and licking Alfred's face, trying to get his attention. When Jordan realized that Alfred couldn't move, he seemed to understand that something was wrong. Without hesitation, Jordan ran off down the street. He came back a few minutes later and started barking at the door, trying to get Jane's attention. Jane heard Jordan barking and followed him outside. She found Alfred lying on the ground, unable to get up. Thanks to Jordan's quick thinking and loyalty, Jane was able to get help for Alfred in time. She rushed him to the hospital, and fortunately, Alfred didn't have any serious injuries. That night, as Alfred lay in bed, recovering, he hugged Jordan tightly and said, "Thank you, Jordan. I don't know what would have happened without you." Jordan wagged his tail in response, as if he understood that he had saved Alfred's life. As time passed, Jordan became an important part of the family. He wasn't just a dog, he was a loyal companion, who shared in all the family's joys and struggles. When Alfred and Jane had their first child, Jordan became very protective of the baby. He never left the baby's side and always kept watch over the little one. Whenever the baby cried, Jordan would run over and nuzzle the baby gently with his nose, trying to comfort the child. As the baby grew, Jordan continued to be a constant presence. When the baby started crawling, Jordan made sure to stay close by to make sure the baby wouldn't fall. One time, when the baby tripped and started to fall, Jordan quickly moved to catch the baby and prevent the fall. As the baby got older, he and Jordan became the best of friends. The baby would often pull on Jordan's ears and tail, but Jordan never got upset. Instead, he would sit quietly and let the baby explore. When the baby was tired, Jordan would lie down, and the baby would rest on his soft fur, using him as a pillow. It was clear that Jordan loved the baby like his own family. One night, the baby developed a fever and cried in pain. Jordan stayed by the baby's side all night, licking the baby's hand and keeping him company. Jane was touched by how much Jordan cared for the baby. She realized that Jordan wasn't just a dog. He was truly a member of their family, a protector and friend. After Jane gave birth to the baby, she found herself feeling exhausted and sad. She was overwhelmed with the responsibility of caring for a newborn, and it was hard for her to keep up with everything. She often felt lonely and anxious about being a new mother. But one day, Jordan seemed to sense her sadness. He quietly came to her and sat next to her, offering his company. Whenever Jane cried, Jordan would gently lick her hand and rest his head on her lap. Sometimes he would bring his favorite toy to her, as if to say, "Let's play. You're not alone." Jordan's quiet presence brought Jane comfort during her toughest days. Just knowing that Jordan was there made her feel a little better and helped her find the strength to continue. As the years passed, Jordan grew older. His movements became slower, and he spent more time resting than playing. Gone were the days when he would run around the yard, chasing after his toys. But even though Jordan was aging, his love for the family never faded. One afternoon, Alfred and Jane noticed that Jordan seemed to be struggling. He slowly stood up, looking out the window as if he wanted to go outside. They both knew that Jordan probably wanted to enjoy one last walk in the garden. They carefully picked him up and laid him on a soft blanket. Together, the family walked slowly in the garden, letting Jordan enjoy the fresh air one last time. As they walked, Jordan moved slowly, but he seemed content. He looked at Alfred and Jane with his warm, loving eyes. And they smiled through their tears. It was a peaceful, beautiful moment, a final memory that they would cherish forever. That night, as the family sat quietly together, Jordan lay down in his favorite spot. Surrounded by the love of his family, he took his final breath, peacefully and without pain. Alfred and Jane whispered their love and gratitude to him. "Thank you for being part of our family." "Jordan," Jane said softly, her voice trembling. "You will always be in our hearts." "Jordan," Alfred whispered, holding Jordan's head gently in his hands. Jordan gave one last wag of his tail and closed his eyes.